If your philosophy is one of, say, impulsive happiness, then you're not prepared when all hell breaks loose. And all hell, it will absolutely 100% break through at some point in your life. And so if what floats your boat is happiness, you're going to be capsized by the first decent wave. And so then you might ask yourself, what do you have instead of happiness that might be even more reliable? And I do think that adventure is more reliable than happiness. At least you want to be pushed to your limit, and maybe you find the most exciting times in your life. In fact, you'll pay for this, you'll pay to have this experience, to be pushed to your limit. How are you ever going to take something seriously if the consequences aren't actually serious? And there's something delightful about dancing on the edge. That's why Hawaiians believed that surfing was sacred, and it's because to surf you have to be on the edge. If your brain's maximally ordered, well, you're just bored, nothing is changing, and if you're chaotic, then it's anxiety and catastrophe. But you want to be positioned right between those two, and that's when your consciousness is optimized. That's the solution in some profound sense to the problem of suffering. It's that you optimize your interaction with chaos rather than being protected all the time from everything that could hurt you. People ask themselves all the time, what's the purpose of life? And there's a variety of answers to that. It's like, well, I just want to be happy. It's a slogan. It's the most common slogan of our time, I would say. And it's such a preposterous slogan. It's like, what do you mean just? You just want to be happy. That's all. That's all you want. That absolute impossibility. Because it's the same thing as asking to dwell permanently in paradise. It's something like that. What they mean is they don't want to suffer stupidly. We're much more concerned with not experiencing an excess of negative emotion than we are with experiencing a surfeit of positive pleasure. It isn't obvious at all that we want happiness. It isn't even obvious that we want absence of misery. What's really obvious is that we want an adventure. It's something like, that was difficult, but it was worth it. And that meant that the adventure was so great that it justified the difficulties. And so then the question is, and here's the question, where do you find the great adventure of your life? Well, how about in truth? Because if what you're doing is living in truth, that's you, that truth is you. And so that means that whatever happens when you tell the truth is your adventure. And then you might ask yourself, well, why are you so miserable and unhappy? And the answer would be, well, the spirit of deception is having the adventure of your life. You're not even there. Because if you're not living in truth, you're not there. Obviously, we have to develop a vision for our life that is so compelling that it justifies those bitter realities. Figure out who you need to be in order to justify the catastrophe of your life. And then you think, well, that was difficult. Man, that's for sure. But it was worth it.
If you're really in a good mood, really happy, you're going to be impulsive and make mistakes. And so you're down to the mall to buy everything you can possibly get your hands on because you have 100 uses for everything. And then a week later, you crash into your depressive episode and you realize that you're $150,000 in debt and you've alienated everyone that you know. You need a balance between positive and negative emotions. Plus, positive emotions are absolutely exhausting because if you're in a manic episode, it's like, it's time to get everything good right now. Fine, but you won't sleep for a week and then you die. And I've seen full-blown manics and they're having plenty of fun, but it is not a pleasant thing to behold. They're just all over the place. Get drunk and be impulsive for one night, you can learn what the bloody consequences of that are. You try living like that for a month, independently of IQ. You're running on nothing but positive emotion. It's going to auger you right into the ground. You have a new baby, you think, especially if you're a new parent, you think, what the hell is this? And what am I going to do with it? It's like, and then you're done for the rest of your life. You never sleep properly again because you're going to be worried about this creature that you have to take care of. If you do moment-to-moment comparisons of people who have kids and people who don't have kids, the people who don't have kids are happier. Some of them jump to the conclusion that because happiness is the goal, that, well, there's something about children that, make you unhappy and that's not good. It's like, well, wait a second. Maybe that's the wrong metric. It's like, of course you're less happy once you have children because you have to worry about them. If having children doesn't make you happy, the answer isn't don't have children. It's like, don't be so stupid about being happy. The idea that life is, that happiness is the purpose of life. It's like great for happiness, man. If it comes along, you should be thrilled that it's visiting you. But the notion that that's what you should pursue, that's the weakest possible notion. Well, maybe it's your father that has Alzheimer's disease or some damn thing, and it's like it's a rare person that doesn't have some catastrophe one person away from them. It's like life is to be happy. That's not right. All you have to do is have your eyes half open and you see that the fundamental reality of life is tragedy and suffering. That's inescapable. That doesn't mean that it makes life unbearable or that it makes being something that shouldn't have existed. If you do that properly, then now and then you get some happiness. You can sit at the end of a day and you have half an hour where you're conscious. Is clear and there's nothing that you need to be doing, and you can relax and think, that's all right, things are okay. That's something, that's growing up, man, obviously. And to not know that and to not be taught that, like everyone should be taught that. It's so obvious. Pick up your damn suffering and bear it and try to be a good person so you don't make it worse. And there's going to be a fair bit of pain along the way, and lots of it's going to be unfair. It's like, no wonder you're resentful. It's like, act it out and see what happens. You make everything you're complaining about infinitely worse. So you think, well, what do you do about that? Well, you accept it. That's what life is like. It's suffering. That's what the religious people have always said. Life is suffering. So what do you do in the face of that suffering? Try to reduce it. Start with yourself. What good are you? Put yourself together. And then maybe if you put yourself together, you know how to do that. You know what's wrong with you, if you'll admit it. There's a few things you could polish up a little bit that you might even be able to manage in your insufficient present condition. So then you fix yourself up a little bit, kind of humbly, because, God, you're a fixer-upper if there ever was one. And then you got to figure out, well, can you figure out how to make peace with your idiot brother? And so then maybe you get somewhere that way and your family's sort of functioning, and you find out, well, that kind of relieved a little bit of suffering, although it reduced the opportunities for spiteful revenge, and that's kind of a pain in the neck. How do you overcome the suffering of life? Is be a better person. That's how you do it. Well, that's hard. It takes responsibility. Or do you want to just forget about the whole meaning thing, and then you don't have any responsibility because who the hell cares, and you can wander through life doing whatever you want, gratifying impulsive desires for how useful that's going to be, and you're stuck in meaninglessness, but you don't have any responsibility. Which one do you want? There's all these ruined people out there. They've got problems like you can't believe. Off they go to work and do things they don't even like, and look, the lights are on. My God, it's unbelievable. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. Get yourself together. Transcend your suffering. See if you can be some kind of hero. Make the suffering in the world less. Well, that's the way forward, as far as I can tell, if there is any way forward.